Good afternoon, it's Alex Smith from Tax Assist Accountants here. Today I'm just going to run through the latest updates on the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme. The scheme goes live now in around a week's time, and there are some important steps to take straight away. So without further ado, we'll start with a short recap on what the scheme is and who is it for. I'll cover the timetable as far as I know it as of this moment. We'll talk about eligibility and what you can do to check whether you're eligible now. We'll talk about how to claim, and again, steps that you need to take now to make sure you can claim promptly when the scheme opens, and a few additional things to know as well. So what is the scheme? Well, first of all, this is the government support for the self-employed individuals and partners in partnerships, designed to provide financial support, obviously, as a result of the COVID-19 situation. The scheme pays out a grant, so it's not a loan, this is a grant, and the actual grant itself is taxable income for the following year. The amount of that grant will be the lower of 80% of average profits from the last 3 years, or £7,500 in total. So the lower of those figures. Average profits are calculated over the last 3 complete tax years, complete and filed tax years being 16-17, 17-18 and 18-19. If you've started employment during that, self-employment rather, during that time, then the calculation will be based on the period since you started. Unfortunately, anybody who started self-employment after 6th of April 2019 is not going to be eligible for this particular scheme. So what's the timetable? Well, the first thing to do is to check if you're actually eligible for the scheme. And you can do that now online. We'll show you how to do that in a moment. If you are eligible, then make sure you've got a government gateway account set up now. And again, that's something you can apply to do now. And again, we'll cover that off in a minute. The actual claim, the claim portal will be live from a week tomorrow. So that's a week, Wednesday. Payments will be made, or are promised to be made, 6 working days following claiming. So how to check if you're actually eligible for a grant. There is an online checker at HMRC. Now you can see on screen, that is the web address. So first thing first to do is to go to that web address. You'll need your national insurance number, you'll need your unique tax reference number, but with those 2 pieces of information, you can go on and determine whether you're eligible for a grant. Both of those numbers, if you don't have them to hand, will be on your last tax return or recent correspondence with HMRC. Now, if the eligibility checker turns around and says you're not eligible and you disagree with that, then there is an appeals procedure that you can follow within that eligibility portal. This is literally just gone live. It's all set up to be able to, include a narrative from yourself as to, why you think you may be eligible when the system says you're not. So how to actually make the claim? Well, HMRC have decided that individuals have to actually do the claim and not the tax agent. So unfortunately, Tax Assist aren't going to be able to do these claims for clients as we would obviously like to try and do. To make the claim yourself, you're going to need to have set up a personal tax account. It's quite simple to get set up, and it's actually quite useful, to be fair, once you have it in place, because it means you can check payments that you owe HMRC or they owe you, etc. So it is a useful thing to have. But set it up using that link I put on screen, and then once that's in place, the information you'll then need to make the claim, it's fairly limited. It's limited to these 4 items I've got on screen. Your self-assessment UTR, your national insurance number again, government gateway user ID and password. Now that will be set up as alongside the personal tax account. And finally, of course, a bank account number and sort code into which HMRC will pay funds. As they've said, that's it in terms of the information they need. We think the actual amount of the grant itself is going to be populated by the system. And that, I guess I'd expect that to be the case anyway, because HMRC hold all that information already. You will need to declare that you've actually suffered a financial loss due to the COVID-19 situation. And HMRC have been, categorically clear that they are going to check claims and recover funds where claims are made either dishonestly or with inaccurate information. So this information has just been announced. So we do hope to be able to provide a walkthrough of some of these steps, video walkthrough once the claim system is actually live too. So a few additional things just to bear in mind. Next week, when this system goes live, it's going to be hugely busy. There must be millions of people who potentially might apply under this scheme. So I think the systems will struggle on Wednesday. I suppose just a note to anybody who's not eligible for one reason or another, if you're in financial dire straits, do consider the bounce back loans, or just, feel free to give us a call and we'll have a chat through your options. I mentioned the bounce back loans specifically because the terms are significantly better than was initially announced under the CBIL scheme arrangement. We've had clients apply. It's Tuesday now this week. I had a client apply yesterday for a bounce back loan. Funds were in his account today. So the turnaround is amazingly quick, terms amazingly good. Back to the claims. Do expect a high level of security when you're going through making the claim, potentially needing your passport or driving license, and also questions that cross-check to items on your credit file as well. HMRC do have all that information. On a related note, HMRC will be contacting all self-employed taxpayers who are eligible for the scheme over the next 10 days. Now, if they've got your email address, they'll contact you by email. If they don't have that, they'll contact you by by SMS message if they have your mobile number. And if they don't have either email or mobile, then they will write a letter. All that will be saying, I think, is that you're eligible or you're not. Obviously, I have already covered this in this presentation, the details of how you can check whether you're eligible yourself anyway. So you're sort of, you can be one step ahead of that game, if you like. Finally, I suppose a plea from me, actually. I suppose over the next 2 to 3 weeks with this scheme going live, I know it's going to be extraordinarily busy for the team at Tax Assist. So to the extent that you need reference numbers, UTRs, national insurance details, those sort of things, if you could double check for any correspondence you've got either from us or from HMRC in the first instance, that would be really helpful, just so we can try and keep the phone lines free in the office. But obviously, if you're stuck, do call. We're always pleased to help. And I think the only other thing I'd say today is if this has been useful to you, I hope it has, and hope it's given you a sort of a head start in terms of making a claim under this scheme. Then please feel free to send this video, send the link to it onto any other contacts who are self-employed. We're trying to help as many people as we can, clients and non-clients as well, in these slightly crazy times, really. So, please to try and help, your contacts and your friends too. Otherwise, that's it. So thanks very much for listening. Thank you.